Well, yesterday by this time, we were counting down to the outcome of the Akwatia by-election, and eventually we got the results. The results showed that he had won that primary. It was expected to be a keenly contested one. As it turns out, he really breezed through this. This is Bernard Baidu's time. He's going to be sworn in, and he will become the NDC's 185th member of parliament in this particular parliament. It is unprecedented. Yes, I know that there's one more that is outstanding in the Tamale Central area, but that is a foregone conclusion because the NPP won't be contesting then. So they have swept it overwhelmingly indeed, and he comes in with 18,199 votes as against the NDC's, the MPP's just 15,000. The thing about it is the margin of victory of 2,964. That is significant, considering that just 9 months back, it had been won by the NPP candidate in that constituency, who had taken it with a margin of 2,063. The NDC didn't only claw back that 2,063 votes, they significantly increased their margin of victory in excess of 700 votes plus what the MPP got. And so this is a significant win indeed. And they have all the momentum going into the 2028 elections in Akwatia, to be precise. Because if you see that here, the 54.3% that the NDC got yesterday in Akwatia is the third highest percentage margin of victory in Akwatia constituency since 1996. And so that is significant. The last time anybody went anywhere above 50 and close to 60 was in 2016 of 57.2%, and that was held by the MPP, right? And then you go to 1996, NDC also had 57.1%. The next time you get anything closer to that is what we saw yesterday with this 54.3%. So the NDC's win yesterday was significant indeed. It was a significant gut punch for the NPP. They have to find a way to recover. We've analyzed a bit of that yesterday to tell you some of the mistakes that the NDC capitalized on, which obviously was handed to them by the MPP. A lot of things went wrong. We'll analyze a bit more of that, but look beyond the Akwatia by-elections and look at some of the key lessons there, not only from the MPP, but for our conduct of by-elections going forward. We'll look at that. One of the big implications of yesterday is what you see on your screens there. For the first time in our history, not only we'll have one party with 184 members of parliament, which is a 2/3 majority they're required to do everything else they want, but they have an extra one on top, 185 members of parliament. There's only one thing that the NDC can do in this country as far as a democracy is concerned, is to change a man to a woman and a woman to a man. But anything else they can do with this significant number that they have in parliament, they can do a host of things. They can impeach the president easily if they want to. That won't happen because the president is a member of the National Democratic Congress and he won on their ticket. They can amend non-entrenched clauses in the Constitution easily, just overnight, getting all their members there. They don't even need to get everybody in there. They can get everybody in there -1, and they can still do anything they want as far as the Constitution is concerned with non-entrenched clauses. They can approve and extend a state of emergency. And it begs the question now, declaring a state of emergency in the areas affected by galamsey on the water bodies is something they can do with a click, the tap of the finger. That is something that, of course, many of the campaigners, including ourselves here at JoyNews, will be asking them. Now, we've given you everything you need, every power you need to effect real change, and can they do that? Sometimes too much power can corrupt. Absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. Is that going to be the undoing of the NDC? Because that is the downside to this. If you have too much power, power indeed corrupts. But if it's this absolute, it can corrupt absolutely. That's something we'll be talking to my guest about when we sit for a conversation. They can override a presidential veto on bills. That won't happen. Because obviously, the president takes a lot of credit for what we saw in the last elections when they came in with 184. Now they have 185. or because people really love the NDC now. And it shows the MPP has an uphill task to try and overturn this. One of the key things on the Akwatia by-election is just the sheer number of police officers that were deployed to the constituency yesterday. It is, again, unprecedented to have 5,500 police officers in a constituency with a simple 52,000 registered voters. And that gave you a police-to-voter ratio of 1:10. 1 police officer to 10 voters. It is unprecedented indeed. But that's what happened. But again, it's a reason why we saw the peaceful nature of a by-election. It's been quite a long time since we've had a by-election that was this uneventful as far as violence is concerned. It was nothing like that. Apart from, of course, the Azoka altercation, it wasn't violent in the sense where fisticuffs and blows were exchanged. It was an altercation nonetheless. Threats were issued. People were pushed around, but it was isolated, indeed. Just listen to the MPP themselves. They are applauding the police for doing what they did in Akwatia. They say the police have won their trust because of Akwatia, and it's fundamentally because of the sheer force that the police showed there. So, should this be the template for future by-elections? Until Akwatia, we were all afraid of by-elections because by-elections have been the most violent, from the Ayawaso West Wagon, even to Ablikuma North very recently, to Akwatia, again, back in the day, to Tripoli. Our history is littered with violent, deadly, fatal by-elections. Akwatia was an exception. And what changed there? 5,500 police officers, 1 police officer to 10 voters. That was changed. So the question then is, the next time we have a by-election, should this be the template for policing the poll? Again, my guest will weigh in when we sit down for a conversation tonight. And then another key thing to look at, as far as the turnout is concerned, there's the by-election, the turnouts. They're always low. If you compare the 2025 turnout to what we saw just 9 months back in December last year, not much of a difference, by the way. Not much of a difference. But this tends to happen when governments are changing hands. And so this is back to the trend. It just supports what the trend has said. And this also does same. Nonetheless, the NDC won and won significantly there. And then you see the voter turnout over the period, which, again, makes the point. In Akwatia, Asin North, all of them in their 60s. Asin North was the only one that crossed the 74 mark. Another key point that keeps recurring when we have by-elections is what you see on your screens here. And these are pictures of roads. Pardon me. Pictures of roads being done, some of them during elections itself. In Akwatia just yesterday. Was started strategically very close to the by-elections and was continued during the by-elections. As of this morning, it was still ongoing. Of course, you can't stop them having won the elections, and you expect that some of these roads will be done. But does this amount to vote buying? Is a question we need to ask. Why do we keep doing this? But voters see this, and if you look at the Global Info Analytics survey, a lot of the voters there said they will vote for the NDC primarily because they will get developments. The NDC government strategically showed them the taste of things to come by deploying earth-moving equipment to start grading the roads, promising them that we'll finish this if they vote for us. They got the votes. So again, one of the things that Akwatia shows is that this sort of thing works. Voters respond to stuff like this, right? So this empowers the politician to do more of such in upcoming elections. But is this where our democracy should be going? Should the voter be more nuanced in assessing some stuff like this, right? Because the roads have not been done for so long. All of a sudden, within a few weeks, all these movement equipments have been taken there and the pictures tell their own story. We'll ask my guest when we sit down for a conversation. That's his amount to vote by. And obviously, with the results that the NDC got yesterday, it appears that it works. So we saw the vote buying allegations, but NDC and NPP again, and we are used to this, accuse each other of buying votes, sharing 50 CDs, etc., 200 CDs, etc. there. both sides denying, saying we have unsigned pink sheets, some of them reported, disputed today. Kodeo says they didn't observe any irregularities that could invalidate the results. MPP saying that they are auditing the results that they have and the conduct of the polls so they can decide whether or not to challenge it in court. Candidate posters near polling stations were removed, causing trouble. And you see the high number of party executives that were deployed to the area. My guest will join me for a conversation. We're going to look beyond Akwatia, draw the lessons for the next by-election that will happen in the Tamale Central constituency, but really fundamentally beyond. The big question, should we as a country be considering amend the constitution and scrapping the whole idea of a by-election? Should this, and maybe the Tamale Central election, be the last by-election we ever have in this country? My guest will weigh in after this. Stay with me. And thank you very much for staying with us here on PM Express. It's always brought to you by Syntax Science. It is strong, it is tough. Also brought to you by Academic Times newspaper and Pepsodent Cavity Fighter. If you're looking for a water tank to store water, then you're looking for the tank with the tortoise on it. If you can't find that, then of course you know it's not quality and it's certainly not Syntax Science. It is strong, it is tough. Academic Times journal is launching soon with 3 distinctive graphic publications and a journal to showcase and empower students across all educational levels. You want to look out for it once it is launched. And then also tonight, look out for the Pepsodent Cavity Fighter if you want to brush your teeth before you sleep, which is good and recommended by the dentist. Grab the Pepsodent Cavity Fighter toothpaste because it guarantees that every smile will matter. My guest joining me for a conversation tonight, we have in the studio with me, Richard Ahiagba is the Director of Communications for the MPP. Chief Tanko Rashid is the Director of Elections and IT with the NDC. Dr. John Osai Kwapon is a Democracy and Development Fellow at the CDD Ghana. Also joining me for a conversation is Vera Abena Ado, a Programs Officer, CDD, but with Kodeo, and they've done a lot of monitoring of the Akwatia by-elections yesterday. We're looking beyond Akwatia and the lessons there from Akwatia that we need to apply to our elections going forward. One of the key ones that the Electoral Commission said they introduced in Ablekuma North, but also for the first time on a much larger scale yesterday, was scanning the results and sending it to a central location instead of just cutting everything physically to the central location. I want to assess how that worked with the players and the stakeholders tonight. Bernard Bediako Bedu, MP-elect, Akwatia constituency, will also join us very briefly. As you know, he's looking forward to being sworn in, and thank you all for joining me. I want to start quickly with the MPP's Richard Ahiagba, who's a minister. Richard, so yesterday you lost again, but it's been 24 hours now. How has the party reflected on this defeat?
Well, thank you very much. Good evening to my co-panelists, your good self, and your viewers. Yes, it was not the result we anticipated. The efforts we put in, we thought that would have won that election. As it is, a lot of things happened, some of which I'm sure we'll discuss. And you have seen our petition to the IGP in the nature of the violence that happened there. So a lot of factors played a role in our laws. But we have embraced the result, but we demand that certain actions be taken.
Let's get specific already, and because I think it's helpful now, because we've had 24 hours now. We've all seen and heard bits and pieces. Put it together for me. What are your main concerns?
Yeah, I mean, practically you saw the campaign itself was very coarse. Some very inflammatory languages were used. If you talk about what the national chairman of the NDC came there in a rather coded way, talking about how is it that the power belongs to the NDC technically, and so therefore are able to do whatever it is, including being able to seize and reallocate the concessions belonging to our candidate. in that.
So this is the mining concession.
Mining concession. I mean that.
So he has a mining concession.
Yes. That's a way of appealing to galamseyers, which we know a lot of galamsey goes on in Akwatia. The effort is to streamline it, make sure it's legal, but then in its present form, it's injurious to all of us in our society. But then they found a way to leverage that. I think the national organizer was in the constituency in a rather uncharacteristic manner, calling on the president to cease all operations. And these are coded conversations that are appealing and trying to extract vote from people who are engaged in illegal activities. And then on the day, you saw what confrontation happened unprovoked by the vice chairman of the NDC, our senior brother, Sofu Azoka, who in a very violent way accosted an individual who had not said anything to him except to give an interview, give his view or report of what is happening. And then he accosted him, abused him in the manner he did, and then his people slapped him. And today, as we speak, he's home. He's probably watching us on TV. And you're wondering, what is this? The implication of that is that it heightened the tension in the environment, and in most likely situation, created fear and panic for most of the people who could have come out to vote and not to come out. And we believe that our victory lay in turnout. And if people had come out in the manner we anticipated, would have won that election. But a systematic effort by the NDC to suppress the vote creates
how exactly
fear
though?
and
beyond there's a thing happened during the
election.
But how did they suppress?
I mean, all the build up to the election, you saw the tension that was created by the NDC.
But both sides did.
Which side?
Both sides.
We didn't do anything to tell anybody we're going to foment trouble over there.
You had the firewall. You're going to
what's firewall?
Your deputy general secretary was talking about you're going to deploy a firewall to forestall violence.
What is firewall? What is firewall?
He said it.
I mean, you should have asked him, but I don't see firewall as anything built. Did you see any firewall in Akwatia?
Well, that's what he said. It was a strategy that he was going to do.
People can speak. I mean, maybe figuratively he's saying something, but I don't know what that means. What is firewall?
Just like the NDC has the activator body cams, you also then deploy the
that's not equal to violence. Compared to what my good brother, Tanko were talking about, they're bringing the Black Maria, they're going to arrest this, instilling fear, creating a certain heightened environment where you have to be bold to go there. When in a democracy, we should open up the space for citizens to go out and exercise their franchise in a very solemn way, reflective way, seeing that who they are going to elect has consequence on their well-being and the governance of the space. But they recklessly campaigned in the community. I've seen them sharing money all over the place. That played a key role, right? And
you have evidence of this?
Oh, yes, of course. My Tanko will give you the evidence. I don't have to give it.
No, but you are making the allegation.
I'm saying he has the evidence.
No, but you make the allegation. You must have the evidence.
You're saying you haven't seen it? You haven't heard?
I didn't see it.
You haven't heard post the event people were asking for money and said they were giving money? There was one community, I won't mention the name, right? Our people went there to canvass. Just on the heels of them leaving, the NDC went there. Okay, our people didn't give them money. Well, the NDC went there, gave everybody. It's a community of 50, 60 people. The NDC went there, gave everybody 200 cities. On the day of election, the NDC was sharing 1,000 cities apiece, 500 cities apiece.
But there's no evidence to support this, though. We haven't seen any. Yesterday, we were there for the community. We didn't hear any. The thing is, NDC also accuses you of saying.
See, Evans, we've come a long way. This evidence matter you're asking.
It's
fundamental,
don't expect
right?
me to. It's fundamental.
No.
Because in
even
other elections,
the police, I don't blame you. Even the police,
we have seen evidence.
Even the police, after they have seen people slap, the person is moving. They'll ask me for evidence, but you have seen it in your studio. So this matter of evidence is neither here nor there. You have seen it. It's not me to prove it to you. Everybody has seen it. But the point is that we think that the NDC is abusing the state power that is vested in them by the citizens. Okay. They are using the power of state against the citizens.
Let me ask you finally before I bring him in, because I've got and get other panelists involved. So as we speak tonight, the results are known. What's the NPP's verdict? Was it free and fair?
You have your own verdict, but I don't think that the election was necessarily free. If you're talking free in the sense that every citizen was free in their rights to be able to go there, exercise their franchise, I would say no, because people were seriously inhibited from coming out because they felt that this place was not safe. And if early on in the day you see Sofo Azoka slapping people and swearing by God that they will kill somebody, that they want some people dead if they had met them. If you are sitting at home watching that on TV, which everybody was doing, there's no incentive for you to go out there and go and vote.
Do you accept the outcome?
They created a general atmosphere of fear.
But abundance of doubt, do you accept the outcome?
Well, I think that we're moving on, but we have concerns.
Okay, good. I think you've expressed them. Tanko, these allegations have come up. Today, in fact, yesterday, we heard from the director of legal that they have irregularities that they're compiling. You were on with me on radio when the director of elections also backed that up, that they are compiling all their concerns, the infractions and irregularities, and they'll make a decision whether they should challenge the results in court or not.
Well, Evans, let me say good evening to you and my co-panelists. And then the good people of Akwatia, we thank them, we salute them for standing up to justice, to join the reset agenda. In fact, they made a choice for the future generation of their constituency. I mean, they didn't just come out to vote out of blue. Evans, you remember the last time I sat here, I told you we were going to beat MPP. You remember it? And I said we're going to hand them a heavy defeat that they will never forget. Because we knew all along, I analyzed the thing and I told you that their 2024 win was not genuine. And that's why we're contesting it in court. I mentioned specifically about the 2,000 vote difference that they used to declare them winners. It was a fluke. And yesterday, we were being vindicated. You saw the difference.
Oh, but circumstances have changed.
Hold on. It hasn't changed.
It has. You're now an incumbent.
Oh,
you were in opposition.
At that point, we won the election fairly. We were declared initially as winners. They refused to accept the declaration, ran to Tesano police station here, got somebody else who described himself as a deputy returning officer. Don't mind, you don't have CI 127, a deputy returning officer. It was only under MPP government that they created that kind of designation and got somebody to declare an Escumi winner at Tesano police station here. That led us to the court at Kufridwa. And we had evidence. Unfortunately, we couldn't produce the evidence before the trial judge when the MP died. We're in the process. And we're going to make sure that these 2,000 votes, we knew all the polling stations where they did those machinations. And we're going to present the evidence. So the gentleman would have been taken out of Parliament. But nature took him out. We said, no, this is an opportunity for the constituency to now get a proper representation. Because they initially wanted an NDC person. And the opportunity came. And I said it, as we speak now, MPP cannot claim to have any stronghold in this country because of their behavior and attitude towards the good people of Ghana.
But you respond to this specific concern that they have with, it says voter suppression.
Where was the voter suppression? They managed to convince about 15,000 people to vote for them. So these 15,000 people, they were not suppressed. They didn't see the security and all that. But
voter turnout was low, he says, primarily because of that.
Of course. What do you expect? Look, voter turnout was hovering around 63%.
Yeah.
Don't forget, in the general elections, it was about 70%. This is the highest we are seeing in by-elections.
No, it's not true.
Under their by-election, even here, when they did it themselves at Jisu, where we didn't participate, tell me the voter turnout. What was the voter turnout over there?
No, but voter turnout...
I'm saying that out of by-elections...
In the Senate, for example, was 74%.
74, yeah.
I'm saying that it does happen when it is by-elections. That's what they should expect that. And I'm saying the circumstances under which... Look, don't forget, they started something the day they had the 1-week anniversary of the late Honorable MP. Do you know that one alone was to scare voters from coming to vote?
Why?
You know what they did? They were to attack our General Secretary and the National Chairman, General Mosquito, and our candidate in the full glare of the public. When we're there to mourn with them, they rather turn the ground to a violent confrontation to attack our leaders of the party. What were they telling the general public? Showdown, And the day that they had their final rally, leadership of the party, including presidential apparents, were saying that there will be showdown the following day between MPP and the police. What were you telling the voters? Did you hear any NDC person say that we're going to have a showdown with MPP or showdown with the police? But they had the luxury of standing on platform and daring the police that the following morning we are going to give them showdown, real showdown. What were you telling the people? My good friend, you should have known that you were scaring your own voters by saying you are going to do a showdown with the police who were ready and told us that they were going to protect everybody. Look, let's take this opportunity to congratulate the IGP and his team. They did a yeoman's job, one of the best, faultless.
We'll talk about the security.
Yes.
Shortly, but let me bring in the CDD's rep with us, because Kodeo monitored.
Yeah,
you deployed to the by-elections. How many?
We had 24 observers.
24 observers, okay. I mean, that fairly makes sense because you have 119 polling stations, so you can spread around and monitor. What did you observe broadly first?
Okay. So out of the 24 observers, we had 20 of them who were stationed at assigned polling station. And then we had 4 of them who were roaming, moving from one polling station to the other. And we have a whole checklist. Our observers go with a checklist. We are looking at different phases of the election, the arrival, the setup, the voting process, the counting, and then the declaration. So generally, we are looking at the process. How is it done? What does our regulation say? We say we start voting at 7. Was EC ready to start voting at 7? Was the setup accessible for persons with disability, elderly persons, giving priority, pregnant women? So we're looking at all this and checking, and even looking at the electoral officials. Who are they? How many are women? We are looking at also the gender, how many are with persons with disability. So the processes where we observe, we saw that the regulations were followed, the process went on. So we say it was generally a peaceful election based on what our observers reported. They did not report any incident of irregularity or any...
So it was peaceful?
It was peaceful based on what our observers...
Okay. But was it free and fair?
Yeah, so we did not have any of our observers reporting that any eligible voter was denied voting. So when you say free and fair, election is free and fair, there are a lot of things you are looking at. Are people able to vote? Are voters able to freely go out and vote? Is anyone eligible to vote with voter's ID card with the name allowed to? Is there any intimidation? So if there's intimidation, then it means that the level is not fair for all candidates. And also free and fair election even starts way before. Sometimes we talk about, that's why I could observe even pre-election phase registration. So even start before the election day. But on election day, based on what we observed, we saw that all people who were eligible to vote were given the opportunity to vote.
Let's talk about voter suppression. I spoke to you on radio, fundamentally because the MPP had raised concerns, and Richard has also added a fair bit to it. Before and during, and the before is important, you're right. I mean, because the voter suppression built up into the elections. Before the elections, the talk was around potential violence. Also coming from Abilikuma North, right? Peace Council got involved, police then deployed. Did you find that played a role in the voter turnout we saw in your monitoring?
Yes.
Was that an issue?
Yes, it was an issue. Even during our training of observers, some of the observers had raised concern about the number of police who were in the communities, and more of being... They themselves, some were worried and were scared for some observers, because if you are deploying people to go out and observe, you also want to ensure their safety, you want to ensure that they are safe. But that's based on, we're not in all polling stations. And so if there were, based on what we observed, there was not any voter suppression or any intimidation. Our observers did not report it. But because we're not at all polling stations, and we also know that sometimes we actually have to check who was also there, we realized that this election had a national character. So the media was present everywhere. So if there are any concerns, I think it's fair to bring it out for the Electoral Commission and the Security Task Force to have a look at it. I think that we could... since he said they are making some, collecting and sending a petition, I think it's fair with evidence and all of that could be submitted, because I know the media was also almost at all polling stations, we're observing the media as well. So I think that the security one was worrying, and we are not sure either it was based on intelligence, that's why the police deployed that number, or it was just because of what happened at Ablekuma.
Okay, so we'll come to the police.
Yeah.
But overall, your verdict on this was this ticked all the key boxes.
It did.
Free, fair, secure elections.
It did.
And you didn't record any cases of irregularities or infractions, and this could include late assembly of the Electoral Commission officials, late start of voting, etc. Was that a concern?
So based on our, almost all the places we observe started between 7 to 7:15.
Okay. So
Just very few polling stations that started 7:30 to 8. No polling station started after 8, based on what we observed. So which is an improvement. Based even on the general election, we realized that some of the areas after 8, that's when our Electoral Commission is starting. All the materials were present. We didn't have any case where we said there was no ballot box or a paper is missing. Biometric machines were working.
biometric machines
all work.
We didn't hear, I mean, media always, we didn't hear one case.
We didn't hear
of
that.
malfunction.
We didn't hear that as well. So it means that the process itself went very well. So we did not have any case of irregularity. I think that when we say irregularity, we have to be very specific, really. We can't just say irregularity.
Infractions, irregularities, just very broadly.
Yes.
But that's your verdict. If you're scoring the Electoral Commission on the evidence of this, just this by-election, where would you place them?
I think very good for the processes. We observe process and we observe the results. In terms of the processes, they were on time. Most of the setup was also good. Some of the issues we have raised is that sometimes setup is such that people with crutches or they are not able to access it. But if you look at the setup, it's also ensure the security of the voter. You have to also set up such that people can freely vote and not somebody is looking behind to check who the person is voting for. And we check all of that and realize that the setup was such that it ensured that every voter who went there should be able to vote freely and shouldn't have an issue. So I think that it was a good election, knowing that it's also just 119, and so we need the Electoral Commission mobilize their resources and their officials to do a good job. So,
Richard, I mean, this is Kodeo's observation. It runs counter to everything I've heard the MPP articulate about the elections. Yeah. Both your director of elections today, your director of legal yesterday, and yourself. Yeah. The evidence doesn't back any of the claims you're making.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure. They're making their claim, we're making our claim. So I don't think there's a reconciliation that makes theirs superior to ours. They're also saying what they have seen. We're telling you what we have seen. So it doesn't make one true.
But the facts are facts, right?
No, facts are facts. But what we're saying...
Media, we were also there. Of course, the Azoka one, we all saw it.
But she didn't say that.
But that was an isolated incident.
No, it's not. The thing happened in the election is isolated. How is that isolated?
No, I mean, the Azoka one happened.
How is it an isolated? It's part of the election. Huh? I mean, you don't have to have multiple to achieve the goal.
It's isolated because it's one.
No.
It's the only one instance.
It's a principal occurrence in the thing. How do you figure out that that's an isolated case? Do you know the impact? Do
you have any other incidents of violence?
You don't have to have millions, okay?
But that's an isolated incident.
But is it against the law or not? We're not talking about definition.
It happened.
Hold on. We're not talking about definition. We're talking about what happened.
It did happen.
Yes. So if it has happened, let's talk about it.
We'll talk about it. You say there was voter suppression. And
yes.
And the evidence.
So you want 100 incidents to call it voter suppression?
Yeah, but that would qualify. But one incident during the elections cannot be voter suppression.
No, you cannot say that. If that happens to you cannot say it's isolated.
No, but even if it happened to me and it's one case, it's
but
isolated.
You see, no. Somebody is slapped. If you are slapped in the face, you can't call it isolated because it happened to you.
No, but isolated is simply an element that happened.
Let's not do English.
But that's what it is.
Evans, no. Right? We're talking about somebody being slapped. If it is you, you won't call it isolated.
But that's a fact.
I am not interested
the person was slapped.
in everything else that you are saying about English. I'm saying that in an election, nobody should be slapped. Is that true or false?
Yes, of course.
Should somebody be slapped?
Yes, but you can also generalize it to the entire
election. We are not generalizing. We're talking about an incident that has happened. Somebody has been slapped. True or false?
Nobody is arguing with you.
So let's talk about what is you can't argue against. Okay, you can't argue against as a fact. So let's talk about.
We're talking about two different things.
No, the fact
you say voter suppression.
Evans, I'm not sure why you're interested in talking about tangential matters.
It's not
somebody,
tangential.
Somebody has
it is
been
a factual representation of what happened yesterday.
No. Let me say.
Somebody was slapped.
Unless you're not going to allow me to speak. If you allow me to speak, I'm saying that somebody was slapped. That person was not supposed to be slapped because it didn't provoke anybody. In an election, people should not be slapped. In an election, somebody should not be there threatening to kill somebody. Okay? Saying that there will be a by-election in somebody's constituency, followed by another person to say, where are these people? If we had come to meet them here, that's not isolated. That is not isolated.
That's a factual occurrence that is condemnable.
Yes.
The police must act, but it's an isolated incident.
Okay, now you talk about your isolation. I'm talking about what has happened. Now, the point of that is that how do you now, even sitting here calling it isolation, trace the impact of that on the rest of the day? You cannot. You don't have what it takes to tell me the impact. But I can tell you. Hold on. I can tell you why
we have Codeo.
Hold on.
I monitor the election.
Hold on. When my good sister was speaking, she didn't talk about a political party and all that. She was talking about how fine the Electoral Commission did, how fine they started the thing, what they did it so people with disability and all of that can access. Those are the aspects they are looking at. But I'm talking to you about political party machination that my brother and his cohorts were leading. If I finish, I'll show you. And if you want, I can show you on live TV what that event did to my own psychology. Sitting here and imagining that my fellow party people were caught in that. I sent a message to one individual whose name was mentioned. I sent him a message that it's important for him to get out. I sent him a message. I can show you the message. Now imagine how many calls I got. How many people were saying that person, they said this, they need to get out. You understand? The effect of that on them and the ability to pursue the thing. Now somebody is sitting there and say, oh, it's an isolated case. I have been slapped. You have been slapped and you are called isolated? You can't call it that.
It is what it is. It's an isolated incident. I mean,
so you see, if we do this, we don't help. So what you are interested in is that.
No, I'm not.
You are interested in
there was an incident,
Evans, hold on.
which is condemnable. Yeah. The police must act.
So then why don't we condemn it? Why are you making it appear as if it's okay?
I use the word condemnable. But we are talking about...
You are minimizing. You are minimizing.
It's not being...
The lawyers who say you are approbating and reprobating.
It is not being minimized.
If the thing is bad, call it that name.
No.
Don't say it is bad and polish it.
Richard, it is not being minimized. We are talking about a whole election.
You are minimizing the thing.
We are talking about a whole election in 119 polling stations. Mm-hmm. That is the picture, the big picture we are looking at. There was one incident when somebody was assaulted. It's condemnable. The person must be arrested and must be tried.
Has the person been arrested?
That is the job of the police, and they must do it. And we must all ensure that they do so.
So what's your point exactly?
Expeditiously.
Yeah, what's your point?
Beyond that, I'm looking at the...
You cannot go beyond that because that is a principal thing that happened in
It is a principle.
Yes.
And everybody acknowledges that.
So why are you going beyond that?
My question to you, because of the words like voter suppression, because of the entire... the characterization of the entire election as one that stopped people from coming out to vote. Yeah. On the back of the evidence I've had from...
I don't know why you are finding it difficult to be able to do the extrapolation. Look, listen.
I'm asking you whether you have enough evidence to justify the claims of voter suppression.
Absolutely.
Then the next question then is... What
you know the evidence. Why are you asking me?
No, I don't know the evidence.
The evidence is what Zoka did.
The evidence is what I heard from Codeo, what my people observed.
No, Codeo.
So my next question to you, Richard, is with that evidence, what do you plan to do with that to ensure get justice for the people and indeed deal with it? Because the Constitution leaves clearly what we must do if indeed you believe that. I think
that the Ghana police is not willing to do their job. Okay? We saw it in Ablekumanov. They went about under intense public pressure, went and gathered some 8 people and said, these are the ones. We know the people are more, okay? It took them how many months or how many days or how many weeks to be able to find some 8 people. And those 8 people, instead of setting a good example to deter Sofo Azoka going back there to Akwatia to do what he did, they give him a pat on the back of the hand and say, oh, go and pay some 6,000 and walk home.
So your verdict on the police...
That punishment was not deterrent enough. It was rather encouraging of violence, which is what was about to be replicated.
On Akwatia, your verdict on the police
was caught pants down.
Yesterday.
When they slapped, when they slapped what I call Masaudu, Alaji Masaudu, what happened? So far, Azoka was allowed to go. Okay. He walked free, participated in an election. He ought to have been arrested right there in front of police.
But question to you.
He slapped somebody.
Question to you. Yesterday, your Deputy General Secretary, at the end of the day, when we asked him his assessment of the police, actually says he applauds the police for the work that they've done, in that it has actually given him confidence that the police could do their jobs. That was his verdict on the police's conduct.
That's his assessment, but I'm saying that...
But he's the Deputy General Secretary.
But okay, so imagine that if you ask the same question to Masaudu, who was slapped in front of police, and the person who slapped him was allowed to walk free.
Because
if you are him, would you say that election was okay?
Again, this is the Deputy General Secretary. He was giving an overall assessment of the police's conduct.
A subjective assessment is given. I'm saying that.
So you disagree with him?
I don't have to say that, or I have to say that. I'm just saying that. Call Alhaji Masaudu now and ask him that election. Okay, would he commend the police or not commend them? When you are slapped in front of police and they cannot do anything to restrain that individual who slapped you, and that person is encouraged by not being arrested, and he went through the rest of the day, okay, possibly slapping other people. Maybe your cameras haven't caught it.
Okay, so but
you understand? So my point is that, yes, I'm not saying that he has slapped. I'm just saying that because he did it once, nobody stopped him. He's enabled, he's encouraged, he can do it. And then they went about, okay, threatening and scaring people.
Yeah.
And that environment, Madam Kodio, has said that it's not free. Your assessment is looking at things, but I'm telling you about psychological suppression.
Okay, fine.
Where people feel that it is not safe based on what I just saw done to my third vice. I am not going to go there.
Let me hear from...
I have a problem where you are trying to make this thing appear as if it's okay because
let me ask... Nobody has said that.
Slapped.
No, nobody has said that. Let me ask the man from the NDC, the Director of Elections, Tanko, the case of the... Azoka. We saw it. We all saw it. It was recorded. It's one incident. However, he is a member of your party, senior member, that the party hasn't condemned it. Why?
Evans, there's nothing to be condemned here. Azoka is a nice gentleman.
But what he did wasn't nice.
Look, he's a nice gentleman. A very decent person.
But that's not what we saw.
Let me tell you, see, sometimes we must watch the way we also react when issues of this nature happen. Their vice chairman, they call him Chairman Buga Buga. You know the meaning of Buga Buga? Go and ask the meaning of Buga Buga. You see, when you sit on TV or on a radio program, you can do your Buga Buga there. But when you come publicly and you are standing and you do your Buga Buga, and you are not lucky, the person you are doing the Buga Buga against is very close to you. You see, everybody has the way he reacts. Interestingly, when he was making derogatory statement against Azoka, he didn't know that Azoka was very close.
No, he didn't.
You see, you are not there. Wait, I'm telling you.
He saw the thing live. He didn't say anything.
Richard.
No.
You know when you were speaking, he was.
I know, but you cannot be saying that and you just.
No, but you
when I was talking, you were asking me a question. You know that.
So you have to allow me to do that.
But you are not doing it, so I'm helping you.
No, I don't need your help for that. Make a note.
Well, you did that.
No, make a note. You are interjecting too much.
But I'm just saying that.
Make a note. Make a note.
You should correct that.
I'm saying that at the time, Vice Chairman Buga Buga was speaking through the mic. You know, somebody was interviewing him.
Yeah.
And he was continually mentioning Azoka name and saying all manner of things about the chairman.
Richard, allow him to make his point.
It's okay, let him talk. You should interject.
Allow him to make his point. I will when I have to.
Azoka came in there and ostensibly changed the language to I won't use your sister Gibi's one of wisdom.
Dagbani, yeah?
Dagbani.
Yeah.
And because you don't understand Dagbani.
No, tell us what he said.
He was telling him.
Richard, allow him to make the point.
They know each other very well. And he was telling him,
no,
the thing that you are saying about me was unfair. He was thinking that Azoka was not around there. Azoka is a nice man, he's a gentleman. And you see, MPP came in as agents of provocateurs in the election. They knew they were going to lose. Their leadership went on removing spree of our posters from polling station areas that they think that it was very...
Tanko, we saw the video of Azoka putting his hands on the gentleman. That was violent.
Do you know the statement the Buga Buga chairman made against Azoka?
I can tell you.
You analyze it. Hamid Agomba, and I know the language.
Yeah.
I understand the language very well.
There were police officers there.
Tanko,
Tanko, you're a police officer there. If he felt offended by that, he knew what to do. Never to take the law into your own hands.
Azoka didn't take the law into his hands.
But we saw him apply his hands on a gentleman.
No, he was trying to tell him, my brother, what you are doing is not good. Don't do that. You are an elder.
Is that what happened?
Oh, but you see, when I'm
That's
trying
not
to
what
talk
happened.
to, look, I'm using my hand gestures. Does it mean I'm attacking Richard?
No, I saw the video. The man used his hands on the gentleman.
That, see, Azoka.
So you find nothing wrong with that?
And I'm saying that there's nothing to be condemned here. The thing was, it was a gentleman issue. It's a friendly fire. After that incident, nothing. It didn't even go further. The two of them went about their business continuously. And that one, look, the supporters around, you see, because we had educated our people and made them to understand that they should watch the MPP. Their intention in the constituency was to mar the beauty of this, like how they did it in Ablekmanov. When they came there with a whole lot of pepper spray in their bags to come and mar the beauty of Ablekmanov, so that to be a topical issue. Like this time, the whole beauty of the election, one of the best organized by-election, they are holding on a straw and trying to use that straw to the extent they've gone to the tangent of writing press conference. I would not be surprised they hold a press conference. They wrote a statement about this man already.
Yeah, because they wanted the police to act.
And I'm saying that. What are they expecting the police to act on? What?
The police must arrest the individual.
Arrest on what basis?
In the least, investigate it.
A lot of people would have been arrested yesterday. Had it not because we just wanted the beauty of it. You can't go about removing my party posters. Who gave you that power? Is it not a crime to remove somebody's party?
Well, file a police report, as they have in their statement.
I'm saying that one alone would have led to another incident.
But
and that was even our party office. They came as well to provoke our people close to our party office. Senior officers of the party. But we advise our people, look, allow them. We are going to beat them hands up. Don't let them mar the beauty of the election. So our people, although with this provocation, stirring us, we said no, we held back. We held back. And I'm not surprised that Kodo had this beautiful report about it because we advise our people, don't mind them. If you do anything, they will mar the beauty of this. So our people were held back and allowed them. They went about removing the posters. There are videos I can even show you.
No, we saw one live. I mean,
yes. And so what was the basis of that? So if we are going to react, I'm sure my friend Richard would have held a press conference and said, yes, we had slapped somebody. Look, there are some areas, if you try to remove somebody's poster, maybe they have to bring another shirt for you from the house. They won't take it kindly. Because you are trying to deface our posters and other things. Meanwhile, at the main lorry station in Akwatia, they had a huge banner of their candidate facing a ballot box. So if you're going to Tom Print, you are seeing the effigies of that man there.
But that was there before they set up. That was there before they set up.
No, so our posters, was that in the morning that we started putting them there? The posters were all over the place before the Electoral Commission came and set everything. But they came and saw that because there were posters here, let's move it. Agents of provocateurs.
So you don't support the police looking into the Azoka incident?
There's nothing to look into. Completely nothing. It's just a much ado about nothing. Look, the election was so beautiful. It went on successfully. Nobody raised finger against each other. The police were on top of it. Even that incident didn't even come closer to a police station.
So hold on for me, Tanko. Let me bring in Bernard Bediako-Bedu, who is the MP-elect of Akwatia. He's joining me right now. Hello, Bernard. Thanks for your time here on PM Express. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Fantastic. And congratulations to you. Have you recovered yet?
Recovered from the stress.
From the stress of the campaign?
As for the stress, good evening to your viewers. I've been on the thank you tour trail. I have done a section of the constituency. Tomorrow we will continue from there. There is no time to rest. This is what we elected to do. We've been elected to do what we elected to do, and we will continue doing it. And
very quickly, has your MPP counterpart, has he called to congratulate you?
Oh, yes. We spoke in the morning. He called me. We speak. I mean, it's not the first time.
So he called to congratulate you?
Yeah, that's so. He did.
Today?
We spoke, and we had a nice time, as we have always had.
And he accepts that he lost fair and square?
Sure, he accepts that. Yeah, he had even spoken to some media outlet and conceded that our message was spot on. And that's what led us to winning in the elections. That he had learned his lessons. I think it's on some social media platforms. He had done that. And when he spoke to me too, he said same. We had a good time. But there is nothing to even complain about this. It's one of the fairest elections I've ever witnessed. I've heard my brother Richard talk about a few things but it's expected. When you are beaten to the pulp like this, you would hold on to some straw because they're there and try to, as my senior Dr. Computer had rightly put it. There's first and foremost, let me just come to the very things Mr. Richard is talking about. See, I never saw what happened. It was just, this morning I read on social media and I asked two questions. First and foremost, who slapped who? Now, who slapped who? The names that I'm hearing, the one that is alleged to have slapped somebody is not from Akwatia, doesn't vote there. The one who is alleged to have been slapped is also not from Akwatia, doesn't vote there. Mr. Ahiakwa, who is talking about this, is not from Akwatia, doesn't vote there.
But that doesn't matter, does it? It's about an election and a by-election.
No, please relax.
And this happened there.
You see, he linked it to suppression of votes. If you remember, you kept asking him. These are people who have nothing to do with the ballot box there.
Not exactly. When he says suppression of votes, that conduct will put people off coming to vote.
People were already there, and this happened, if it actually happened, it happened not anywhere close to any polling station, if what I'm hearing is true. So, you see, do you know the number of fracas that happened in Akwatia on that day? Which had nothing to do with the election. See, there has been an election. People killed to vote. If they are worried about people not coming out to vote, they should blame those MPs who were on radio and television weeks before the elections. Saying all kinds of things which you know about. That Akwatia will ban, we don't trust the police, we don't trust this. So that is the time people took decisions that they would not come because they were afraid of what may happen. That is what they should blame it on. But this happened when people were already voting. And I can assure you, I was in the constituency, I never heard of it. And I'm not sure. And it happened even if it happened in one electoral area. What about the other? One branch or something. What about the 118? What have they said about that? The people killed and voted freely, fairly, and we counted it. But I understand when it happens like this, and you've lost some political clout, you should find something and hold on to it and claim that was the result. That was your loss was as a result of that.
For you, one thing that you say primarily gave you the upper hand. What was it?
The message. My brother on the other side concedes. You see, in the run-up to this election,
your message, from what I heard, was simply that you belong to the incumbent party and you can bring development to the area.
There are two things. Yes. Before that, two things here. First, for me, two things play out, and that's what I told the electorate. The first was the personalities involved. If you want to be a representative of the people, you should have that ability, you should have that competency to advocate for them because you carry their cross, you carry their problems. So you should have that because you need to lobby for whatever to resolve the problems you may know about your people. Now, put the two of us on the scale, and then you'll be the best judge as to who can best represent them on that with regards to. But beyond even advocacy, you should also have the connection to, because you can talk the whole day. You don't have the connection, you can't get anything. That is where the second aspect which you raise coming. I am connected because the government is in power. So beyond the advocacy, you should also have the connection. That is all I know about representation. So both, when you put both on the table, my brother on the other side, in all humility, knows and concedes that I'm above. And you see, you ask what their message also was. About 95% in terms of message was about sympathy, that a certain gentleman was voted into office, suffered some whatever in court, and died. And so, on the basis of sympathy, they should give the nod to my brother, Kwame Asumedu. That was it. But more than even 95, but that was it. To the extent that, look at the posters they filed on the streets of Akwatia and its environs. They put the late Ernest Kumi, his picture just behind their candidate. I haven't seen this before, as if he is his running mate. I haven't seen this before because you see, you may want to use that, but you should use it advisedly. That's what led to the advice. I knew they would lose because the people are in Akwatia are hungry for development. For the 8-year rule of MP, Mr. Anyagwa is there. You should mention one singular. I mean,
On that subject, we saw the tractors on the road, clearing it, grading it, etc. This morning continued. Will these roads be completed?
Yes, it will, because I mean these are roads awarded. The contracts were awarded, duly awarded. I mean by the ministry, and it will continue. You see, let me give you a background to the construction that you talk about. On Sunday, I think 2 weeks ago, the chief of staff under the instruction of the president came to the constituency to meet with the chiefs and introduce me to the chiefs as the NDC's candidate. He met with the overlord of the area, Dasibra Sumadu, at Wenchi, and the other chiefs flanked him. And they put certain requests before him that they were fortunate to have had him come to their palace. So that request came, and she was saying, oh, well, wow, these are legitimate requests. But I came in to campaign for my candidate. I didn't have this on my table. So, or I couldn't have preempted it. So why don't you come to the Jubilee House days after? So we have a discussion on that. So I was asked to bring them to the Jubilee House, which we did. When we went, the chiefs had chronicled all their demands on a paper and delivered same to the meeting, which was the head of the meeting, which was the acting president at the time, Her Excellency the Vice President. We were all there. Some discussions were held, and it was agreed that certain towns which roads were so bad or which roads were so bad needed some reshaping. In fact, I was in the meeting when the chief of staff even mentioned that they do not want it to appear as though it is by-election. That is why they didn't really start.
So basically, because of time, I mean, the roads were done because the chiefs asked for it specifically.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So it's not the normal thing they did in Asan. So that is why
very finally, before I let you off, you were the lawyer for Henry Boache, and Henry Boache had 17,000 votes in the last elections, and he was obviously fighting Ernest Kumi, because he believes that the election that he won wasn't one fair and square. You represented him, and then you now takes over from him, although the man was still interested. Part of this case, from what I understand, is still in court and is yet to be finalized. And some look at that and say, you stabbed your good friend that you represented and caught your client in the back. How do you respond to that?
No, I mean, that the statement you just made is not a true reflection of events as they look. First and foremost, currently, there is no existing case, and there cannot be, because the gentleman has passed. This is one of the cases where you cannot proceed without him. Secondly, the fact that the elections of 2024 is not the same or an extension of this by-election. Everything per what happened, and for the fact that the guy has passed means everything about 2024, good or bad, comes to an end. Now, with the issue of stabbing my client at the I mean, look, I was the constituency secretary. I don't know if you knew about this. I've been the constituency secretary of the party, not just a lawyer. So I am also a politician. I wore my cap the legal cap did the case for him and then the party. Now, it is not one of those cases where you may think that any issue, people have even raised issues of ethics. There is nothing in that case we did that has any influence or any relationship with the current election. This is 2025 election. We went for primaries. I was qualified. We went, and then I had the nod. That 2024 election and whatever happened with it, I went to court. We did what we could. Whatever happened, happened. There is no relationship. It is not like the Ablikuma Central, where we were asked to do a rerun of some polling stations, which would have meant that the same set of candidates should go. This one, everything about 2024, force majeure, act of God. There is nothing you can do.
Do you have,
bad, whatever.
Do you still have Henry's backing? Because at least he had 17,000 votes the last election, so he still has a following there.
That is how come I won the elections. If your cameras were following me, he was the lead speaker anywhere I go. We understand ourselves. I've been with him for years. So sometimes when I hear this, crying more than the bereaved. In fact, this is a man we've been together for so long. There is nothing wrong with it. He understands. He's a politician. We went for elections and I won. Okay. He followed me everywhere. In fact, yesterday, if your cameras were in the coalition center, he led the coalition on my behalf.
Yeah, okay.
He led the coalition.
Do you know when you're going to be sworn in?
Not yet.
Okay, good.
I'm not sure, man.
Okay, good. Congratulations again, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you, Tor. Let's come back to the studio. Vera, let's talk about the security, because that was unique. Yeah. 5,500, and I know your team paid particular attention to that. And if you do the calculation with a place of 52,000 registered voters, it's one police officer to 10 voters, which is really unprecedented. What's your verdict on how this by-election was policed?
If your team can also help us, what's the ratio as a country, police and citizens?
I will check that for you. I don't have that off head. My researcher should check that for you.
Right.
For us.
I think we do not need to deploy this much security for a by-election, 119 constituency. How much is it costing the state? I think now we have to talk about the financial cost to the taxpayer. How much does it cost us for how many days the security was in Akwatia? If you look at the number of days, in other jurisdiction, they will tell you how much it costs for an officer to move an officer from his or her station to another station. How much is it costing us? And the question is, was it based on intelligence that something is going to happen in Akwatia? Is that the reason, or it was based on what's happening in Ablikuma? I think we need to look at how to prevent this. In the general election, what is the police going to do? Is it going to be the same in Tamale?
But it worked. I mean, it worked. There was no violence.
And that is worrying. Even though it worked, it's worrying. It's worrying. That's the issue. It's worrying.
What was worrying about it?
So in the next general election or district assembly election, how are we going to deploy police? Are we going to get the number of personnel at the same when we have all 276 constituencies having election over 40,000 polling stations? How are we going to do that? So
you're concerned the cost or the
one is the cost, and one is how do we prevent? How do we sustain this?
I mean, let me be honest with you. I mean, going into Akwatia, even as journalists, we're scared. When I was deploying my team, we're looking for bulletproof vest for them. They had to go in that. They had to go in bulletproof helmets.
It's not worrying.
It is, but that was the level, the anticipation of violence on the back of Ablikuma North. Everybody was scared. And so when we had 5,500, it gave us some confidence to send our guys in. There was conversations about whether we should even go and how do we cover that. Because I don't want to send anybody's child to go and cover elections and get shot. Because we were assaulting Ablikuma North. And then we said 5,500, maybe that would prevent the violence. So just looking at it purely from that point of view, it was reassuring.
But is that the way to go? We want to decide who becomes a member of parliament to represent us, and we need to deploy this huge security.
Because our two political parties
Exactly.
won't allow us to have
this conversation.
a peaceful election.
So when Ghana police is able to tell us how much it has cost the states, taxpayers, then we can tell both parties that this is how much due to what they do, due to their own. And you see what happened in Akwatia, where people not from Akwatia, I think the member of parliament was saying, we had party officials, even state officials, government officials had left and they were there campaigning. And you were like, are they on leave? Why are they there? On election day. We should leave candidates and their agents to do the job and to monitor the elections. If you realize some of the things that happened were outside the polling station, so our observer did not even see some of them. Why were the officials there who were not voting, party officials who were not voting? I think we don't have to put our democracy into this kind of state. We don't need this to happen. I know maybe the IGP has to do this also because of what happened, but I think we need some transparency and accountability.
But it's a fair response to the historical violence that has characterized every by-election in the last 10 years has been violent, right? This one is the only one that has actually gone on without basically nothing happening. And you look at that and you say it's only because the police took an unprecedented approach and just flooded the place with police officers.
And I think we also have to commend Akwatia community. Most of the things that happened where people who were not from Akwatia were party officers.
That's true, though.
They didn't fight. They were not ready to fight. They wanted to just go and vote. Our MP, there's a by-election. We need to decide who represents us in Parliament. And they were pushed by Musa to say people wanted development. They wanted this. There were issues that the reason why they want to go out there, they didn't vote. They didn't go out to fight or to cause any issue. It was election day. Just go out and vote. That is what they did. All the issues that came were party officials from both NPP and NDC who were there, who were causing the issue. I think it has got to come to a time that we can have party officials go and support and do campaign, but on election day, maybe 24 hours or election eve, they have to let them go.
Richard, give me your comment on the police deployment. Positive?
No, it's excessive. Excessive. And then it's not accurate, the point you make that this Akwatia has been the most peaceful of
which other by-election?
Asinov was a cakewalk. Okay? I was there from day one. It was cakewalk. There was no violence. There was no.
I remember Asinov because where your general secretary actually had complaints about the police's conduct at one point.
Well, yes, I'm talking about the police deployment is one thing. I'm talking about what comment you have made about this Asinov being one of the most.
It was incident.
The incident that you're talking about relative to the general secretary, I was there when those things happened. The police were. It seems to me. I told you, and I wasn't specific to say that it was. IGP Yehodu's police or Dampari's police. I just said to you categorically, the police seem not able to do their job. You understand? So the instance you're referring to is there. But the deployment in Akwatia was excessive. And the impact also created fear for people. Instead of being an enabling factor, it actually inhibited people. There must be something going on to demand this number of police to be.
But the political parties must take responsibility for that. Then. Because the police obviously reacted the way they did because they feared both sides will clash.
So it is possible for the police to deploy even 1 million police to Akwatia, but put them in plain clothes. When you put them in that manner, citizen relation becomes a bit constrained because they're right there in their face. So people have a certain perception. I know they are plain clothes officers there, but then they can be strategic about that's their job. We are not going to tell them how to do their job, but they must have the presence of mind to know that the impact of that many police in that space. If you do the math, about every inch almost of Akwatia was covered by a police officer. That is unprecedented. You understand? So it has a psychological effect on the voter. If you're going out there, there is possible chaos to happen. That's why they brought this many police people to town. So it has an adverse effect. But for the NDC, they have strategically aligned themselves as though they are partners of the police in that operation. My brother Tanko was going about, the Black Maria is coming. We'll make sure they arrest. And I'm asking, is he going to be directing the police, arrest that one? Because that's what he was saying.
I mean, very finally.
We'll let them arrest this person.
Very finally, as a rep of the party here, isn't it time for both parties to do some introspection about the way we approach by-elections, any election. That's what the point that he's making. It's just the talk around violence going to any election. It's just wrong.
Look, the fundamental thing to do, the police must do their job. If it is me, the director of communication for the MPP, who goes there and misconduct myself against the dictates of the law, let me be arrested. So for Azoka, what he did, arrest him. So other people know that this is not acceptable.
Yeah.
But if you enable the situation and you are not able to arrest them, right in front of police, somebody is slapped. And then they let them go. They carry on the rest of the day.
Let me bring it.
But I'm coming. Let me just drop. Let me conclude. Very briefly. You understand? When you allow that to go, you enable people. And because it's part of the NDC or his party is in government, the police acquiesce, allow him to carry on. So that, adds to it. The police must do their job, plain and simple, with that respect to people.
Because that then serves as a deterrence. Or she wanted deterrence.
Yes.
The deterrence factor is important.
By the way, finally, Tanko is the only person defending Sofo Azoka. Many of the NDC people who have been speaking about this thing today, they are communicators. Everybody is repudiating his conduct. I don't know why Tanko has this selective perception in saying, I didn't see it.
Tanko, give me your...
Masawudu did not say anything
Tanko, give me your verdict on the police.
And he was standing right
on the police deployment and whether that should be the template for future by-elections.
Well, I think we have to give credit to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, who made a statement that under my watch, there will not be election violence, any election violence whatsoever, under his watch, that it will never happen. He made that pledge and he's living to it. And when we met them, and see the IGP, I'm saying we have to also thank the IGP for his young man's job. Because you must watch closely our opponent. You saw what happened at Yawasu West Wago. A sitting member of parliament, Honorable Sam Nate George Jata, was slapped. I don't know whether Richard was not in Ghana at that time. Up to now, have you arrested that person? 8 years down the lane, have you arrested that gentleman?
Yeah, what did you say about
I'm saying, so I'm saying that, look,
that doesn't justify.
It's not a justification, but I'm saying that the history of MPP in terms of violence in elections, 100%, which just give it to you, that's your title. We know what you have done. And you know, after the meeting with the IGP, statement from leadership of their party, in fact, if I were the IGP, I would have even extended it to 6,000. Because they were, look, bringing fire, saying all manner, showdown, and that we're bringing people to protect us. We are going to protect ourselves. When you hear a statement like that from leadership of the party, what do you expect the police to do? So first down to NDC. When we're going to our Kumawu by-election, hardly did you hear any of our leadership make a statement that we're going to Kumawu with people who are coming to protect us. We didn't make such statement.
So you say that the deployment wasn't excessive?
No, it wasn't.
Should that be the template for future by-elections?
The template was fantastic. Look, it made us to have an election free, fair, transparent. Look, the Black Maria stood there throughout and didn't arrest anybody because
two people were arrested so far, Zoka. Arrested him and put in the Black Maria.
There was nothing for him to be arrested. There was nothing that happened for him to be arrested.
So if somebody slaps you, it's okay? If I slap
when
him,
you slap today is a minister of state, you slapped him at Yawasu state. Azugu marks people. What happened to us? It was a state-sponsored violence on the human beings.
Let me give the final word to Dr. John.
Before I land,
John Kwapo, who is joining us briefly.
We did this by-election, won it massively to honor my boss, Dr. Omaneboma. I told you, he gave us the blueprint before he died. He gave us the blueprint in the morning, 7:45. 4 hours later, he was involved in a plane crash and died. So we used the blueprint he gave us to beat them. You know, I told you, I sat here and told you the meeting I had with him in the morning.
You didn't activate all body cams?
Oh, I said that one day, the election was such that we wouldn't even use it to activate. That blueprint, we'll use it for their own, and we want the environment where, like, you know, we are going for this gentleman, Honorable Befi constituency.
Because he says that he will...
Yes, there's going to be ridiculous.
There's going to be... No, it's not...
On a more serious note.
Your foreign minister says that...
I'm saying that the man...
On a more serious note, there's a fundamental question that may go to the Constitution I need to ask. should we still keep having by-elections? There's a suggestion that has been floated by some democratic activists.
Yeah, it's necessary.
That we should consider scrapping that. And so whichever party wins the main election, if there's a vacancy, somebody dies or whatever, that party just nominates a replacement. Well, what do you say?
Because the constitutional issue...
We're asking, we now have an opportunity to amend the constitution. The Constitutional Review Committee is working.
Yeah, because
that should be one of the proposals to
our
amend the
elections have become so expensive.
Yeah.
It has become so expensive that you think about it, that do we really need it?
Yeah.
And we have to assess. In fact, we have to assess every make some calculations and see if it's worth it for us to go into the election. If not, we may have to.
Yeah, Rachel, what do you stand on that
go
question?
into it?
No, I don't have any problem at all. I think it's a reasonable proposition. It should be looked at. So far as we can amend the constitution to reflect that, I think it's a progressive step that we can take in our country to curtail all these excesses of the NDC.
Thank you.
I totally disagree.
I told you.
Look, the framers of the 1992 Constitution made room for representation of the people.
Yes.
That's what they're talking about.
Yes, no, but the point you're making, the suggestion is that the by-election.
In a by-election.
So that in the main election,
yes,
a party and a candidate would have won.
Yes.
So if the by-election, if somebody dies down the line.
Somebody died from.
So the NDC would just, internally central, would have just nominated a replacement.
They vote first on the personality who is representing the party. So if Evans is in that constituency, and on the by-election occasion, and Evans wants to stand as independent, the people want to vote for you. And because you have been denied, your constitution says they shouldn't vote for you because you are not an NDC person died. What kind of representation is that?
Okay.
Let me just...
Time's up. Time's up.
Here's the thing, the same thing. That so the president and the vice president were elected together.
Yes.
Okay, knock on wood, president, kicks the bucket, then the vice president comes in.
It has a lifespan.
Yes, the same thing has a time frame.
No, this one has a time frame.
No,
but the MP2 is there for 4 years.
It's a 4 years. So the proposition is reasonable. Say you don't like it, but don't say any constitutional representation.
If you do that,
it's a reasonable thing.
Richard Tanko,
Vera,
this one is quite.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening.